Internet Protocol for hand radio, aka VoIP. A couple terms here: voice over IP, session initiation protocol. That's the protocol most of these phones use on either port 5060 or 5061. We're going to talk about a private branch exchange, a coder decoder known as a codec, sort of like a modem, but took an analog signal, turned it into zeros and ones, and then talk about what an endpoint is. So you don't have to read all this, but first successful VoIP call, if you could call it that, was done over ARPANET cross country in 1974, using a new protocol called linear predictive coding. First end user software was called Vocaltech. Their software was by Vocaltech. Software is called Internet Phone, also the iPhone. SIP was introduced in 1999. Skype uses VoIP. The Silk codec, which was used by Skype, and then now used by Teams and Zoom. Those all use Silk, and then we all know what happened in 2020 when those blew up. So it's usually done over the regular internet. It's sometimes can be done over RF, or you can connect through the internet to radios and talk that way. So some people say it's not really ham radio, but if you're into this stuff, you're probably into technology, you probably want to exploit the different capabilities that are out there. And then you have a lot of different capabilities that you have on any normal VoIP phone. It will caller ID, voicemail, conferencing, paging, SMS, and then All-Star. You can connect to All-Star. And what does All-Star run off of? Anybody know? Asterisk, which is a PBX. This is just a picture I stole. Benefits of VoIP. So the Sapura phone adapter, a bunch of guys left Cisco, started Sapura, made these phones, and this adapter here that has Ethernet and then goes out to a normal old phone. So that's where the SPA comes from. Now the SPA 504, which are these two, and this. And the 525, some of the most common models for ham radio now. They're pretty easy to configure. They have a web interface where you input all your settings. On Ham Shack Hotline, they do it for you just by taking your MAC address, and you go to a URL. They work off PoE, which we'll talk about. And since companies always have to put out new products just to make money and add features like Teams integration and stuff like that, none of these are supported anymore, so they're really cheap on second, third hand market. Here's all the SPA 500 series phones. There's a little chart, a little hard to see on this projector, but anything from 1 to 12 lines on a single phone. You can see this one's got a color screen. This one, can't see it, but that's just a paper screen. You can get these things that are called sidecars, and you can put speed dials on each of those, which is kind of cool. Also, this one with the color screen has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so you don't even have to connect it via Ethernet if you don't feel like it. SPA 300, a little bit lower end series, except for this guy, which everybody has a phone in their pocket now, but that works off Wi-Fi 2. If you wanted to go, this guy is really expensive, used. There's one on eBay like $230 right now. Analog telephone adapter, that's this little box right here. So like I was saying before we started, if you had an old phone still sitting in a closet or something like that, you didn't want to buy these, you can get one of these for $30 and does all the same things. And we're gonna play with all this stuff later, but And this one actually has 2 lines. So, and this phone has 2 lines, or you could connect it to 2 different phones, or just get the 1-line version, whatever works out for you. The only disadvantage really is it doesn't have PoE, so it ends up being a cable salad with a power cord and an Ethernet cable, and then 2 phone cables. Whereas if you ran power over Ethernet through an injector or a PoE switch, then it's just 1 cable going into the phone, not including the handset, which I've thrown around. Okay. Here's the web interface that you use to configure these SPA phones. Relatively easy, infinite numbers of options. You can tell it which NTP to use, which DNS to use, or you can just do the bare minimum and put in the extension and then a couple speed dials. There's a lot of other brands out there that are supported by the services we're going to talk about. If you can find a good deal on them, then that's great. But I have no experience, but in general, they're all more than adequate. And the end user device is called the endpoint. So there's a couple known bad endpoints. You've probably seen these at Walmart and in offices and stuff like that. These old 7900 series phones don't have a web interface. You got to set up a TFTP server for it to pull its configuration each time it powers on, and
They're no fun.
yeah, and you have to flash SIP firmware because they come with proprietary Cisco firmware. So it can be done if you run your own PBX, if you're into that sort of thing, but don't think you're getting a good deal if you see one of these on eBay. Power options, I mentioned PoE, that's power over Ethernet. I'm a nerd with a bunch of cameras and AP access points at my house, so I have a switch and a rack and Ethernet through all the walls. Or you can use a PoE injector, that's what this phone is using right now. Takes Ethernet in, power in, and then Ethernet and power out. These 2 phones, this node is running off a 12-volt battery. So I split the cable going into that into a buck converter that takes 12 volts, puts it down to 5 volts. And then this one, yeah, get a 3-pack.
Yeah.
This one, exact same equipment, but I just hooked it up different for this demonstration. This router will put out PoE, passive PoE, and then 12 volts, and then use a PoE splitter, so that divides the power, and then it goes into that same buck converter. Or you can just use a wall wart. I had to buy one of those to power this thing, and I got a 2-pack for $9. It was here the next day. This is more on power over Ethernet. So in your Ethernet cable, you've got 4 twisted pairs, and only 2 of them carry data. 90% of the time, the other 2 are unused. So it can send voltage, positive on the blues and negative on the browns. And 2 primary standards for that, 802.3 AF and 802.3 AT. That's known as active PoE. So the device negotiates with the switch or what have you. So the power's not always on until the device requests it. That way, if you plug in something else that doesn't accept PoE, you don't let out the magic smoke. Or there's passive. So like I was saying, these 2 things are passive. If there's no negotiation, and that's whatever voltage you put through it, that's your own risk. But if you doing ham radio stuff, everything's 12 volts. It's not 48 volts. So, and then there's these are called hard endpoints, where you have a physical device. You can also have soft phones with these different apps. Excuse me. Lend phone, ground wires, Loiper, jammy and micro SIP. You can put them either on your cell phone, your tablet, or your desktop computer. I played with LenPhone a little bit, but it was just redundant because I've got this phone next to my computer, so I'm not gonna grab my cell phone. And then amateur VoIP services. So this is the meat and potatoes. So first one, I'm pretty sure, was Ham Shack Hotline. They blew up, and then there's some drama, but one of the admins from Ham Shack Hotline started Hams Over IP, and they offer slightly different features, same basic service. Amateur Wires, another one, for whatever reason. While doing research for this, I found out about Freestar, so I just put it in there. I have no idea what they provide. And then Meshphone is a independent mesh network that runs on Arden, which we were talking about before. And in general, you have to have your own PBX, but you can connect to Meshphone through Ham Shack Hotline, which we'll see in a second.
Do any of those costs?
No, completely free to ham radio, amateur radio operators, and then they'll take donations because they're running servers in the cloud. And, so we mentioned PBX a little bit. Asterisk is a PBX. Free PBX provides a GUI over Asterisk. Makes it way easier to configure. All of the major services will let you just connect directly to their PBX or provide you a trunk, an intra asterisk trunk, IAX. And you can connect that to your own PBX. You can run it on a Raspberry Pi, and then you can run those 7,900 phones. You can run as many endpoints as you want, do all kinds of crazy stuff. On my PBX, I have the Top Gun theme song as my on-hold music. Pretty limited resources. I run mine in a container on a Proxmox server with like half a gig of RAM and like a 10 gigabyte drive. This is a dashboard for PBX, and this projector's on its last legs. Okay, so now to the fun stuff. So one of the reasons Hams Over IP split from Ham Shack Hotline is they didn't have enough bandwidth to provide the blinking light feature, BLF. So if you had one of those sidecars and you had all your buddies, their little button would turn orange or red, depending on if they were in a call or not. Ham Shack Hotline stopped doing that. A lot of people got mad. So Hoyt still does it. Or you can just go to the website. These are all the phones that are talking to someone right now. Doesn't show you who, but. And then there's also bridges. So these are all the bridges or conferences or so I told you you can talk to All-Star. So you're mostly just listening. You call the number, whichever number it is. The extension is on the left here. You call that number and you dial *99 to transmit, and then pound to
Who's issuing those numbers? The service?
Yeah, that comes from Ham Shack Hotline, and it's just random. They started with 5 digits. I have a 5-digit number, and they've blown up, so I think they're up to 7 digits now. So Ham Shack Hotline, if you get one of those and they don't like you haven't connected for 30 days, then they might disconnect your line.
Hello. Thank you for calling the Ham Shack Hotline Extension Verification System. This call has now been logged and your extension will not be added to the dead extension list for the next 30 days.
So if you don't talk on it that much, just dial 451 and that'll fix that. They've all got voicemail. You can also just hit the voicemail.
You have 2 old messages. Press 1 for old. First message received November 28th, 2023 at 1:40
pitiful.
p.m. Message from
I've
phone
listened to
number.
it. I just
They're still waiting on you to call them back.
I still
Now
have
you
a
walk in the home again
Looking
and
for
the
Adam,
lights
keyboard
blinking or not.
SPD. I would like you, 3 of you guys in Texas to get
See,
together.
I'd already moved out of Texas, so I
David
didn't have a
and
point.
find him.
Well, hell yeah, they went out of business because you didn't call them back.
Is looking for some.
So, Southeast Link. So there's a bunch of multi-mode nets now on they mostly talk on or coordinate on Facebook, and they'll have DMR and P25 and D-Star, and in DMR they'll have Brandmeister and DMR Plus, and so one of these is the Southeast Link, and they have an amateur wire extension, an VoIP extension, and a ham shack hotline extension. So we'll see if anything's going on there.
Welcome to the Southeast Link. You are connected to node 510131.
You know, and they can participate from a cruise
So,
ship in the Caribbean.
If you don't want to listen to your local hams,
There's all kinds
yeah,
of ways
then
to use
you can listen to someone else.
Just
Yeah,
Come some people
So-
here with
This party line,
yeah, just the party line, and they'll take check-ins. I haven't actually done one of these nets because I just imagine it's pure chaos. Here's another one that's meeting right now. So we've only used ham shack hotline so far, so we'll use VoIP for this one. 150.
Connected to node 52568.
Seriously. I mean, you know, you're talking.
And most of these also have
such as
all-star connections to local
DMR,
repeaters
YSL,
or
and things of
just
that
people's
nature.
all-star nodes.
And there are a lot of hams
so
that.
the also, they can talk into it?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
and back and forth?
Yep.
So not just listening?
You have to connect to the 14682.
Really?
Yeah.
It's an all-star node.
Does it have a VoIP extension or a VoIP
I
extension?
would say not, but
Yeah,
you need to take
you
care
gotta
of
set that up separate, but
Okay.
we could do that. That'd be cool. If we wanted to talk, we're not gonna talk over this guy, but if we wanted to talk, star 99, that keys your mic, pound on keys.
So is there written protocol, etiquette and stuff for this, or
I think it's just a round robin of check-ins.
he didn't sound like he could check in, he sounded like he was
Yeah, I have no
hoo-hawing.
Here's the East Coast
More
reflector.
reflectors.
Yeah. So all these are basically just reflectors, and you can see this is their network topology. So all the different ways you can check in: DMR, Brandmeister, TGIF, D-Star, System Fusion, All-Star Bridge nodes.
I was actually on their website about 3 days ago because I stumbled on
Oh yeah.
looking at Astra stuff.
Yeah.
Get on eBay, man.
Oxcom USA, they do the same, but they only have one extension. So we'll call Michael, KK4IOH.
After the tone, say your name.
Hello.
Hey Michael, how's it going?
Hey, how's everything going?
Good, talk to the class. I'm gonna
Alright.
pass you off. How long have you had a VoIP extension?
I got this probably, well, not long after Ham over IP came about, so it's probably been a couple of years at least.
And what'd you tell me the other night when I called you on it?
I didn't know what the noise was. It doesn't ring very often.
Yeah.
I was looking around for the noise, and then I realized, oh, someone has a missed
That's
call.
great. That's awesome.
Dang, don't leave him a message.
Yeah. We
And then I
checked.
had a voicemail. I didn't even remember that I set up voicemail, but it was there.
Yeah, we checked my voicemail and I had a message from November 2023.
The motivation to set this up for me was actually to make a link into my All-Star node, but of course I saw a squirrel, and that has not occurred yet.
Yes.
Typical. Cool. Anybody?
But
You guys all
let's see,
know.
there's a couple of
Mostly.
interesting things that I've used the phone for. So you can connect to the East Coast Reflector with it. So I've dialed up and listened to the TechNet. Boredom Breakers has an extension, so I've dialed up that net and checked in over the phone. And you can listen to ARRL Newsline and a few other ham news type streams or whatever you want to call them over the phone. And once upon a time, we had a hub here in Memphis connected to Hamland that had an extension, but that is not powered on currently. It doesn't work at the moment.
Gotcha. Billy's got it.
If you're doing a search, what words are you searching for to find?
Can't quite hear the question.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
If you're doing a search, I was going to talk about it in a minute.
Okay,
But
perfect.
if you're doing a search, how do you find someone on?
Or
Oh, yeah,
Whichever
on the Hams
service.
Over IP page,
Okay.
just click the hamburger menu at the top right, you got a phone book. And then they're grouped by extension. So like I'm just a personal extension. There's conferences, links to All-Star, and then a section for audio. You can even dial up and listen to music through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just pulled that up for him. So cool. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Any other questions?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to let him play with them in a minute. Maybe we'll call you
All
again.
right.
Cool.
Well, y'all have fun.
Thanks. Take it easy.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Is that Michael?
Bye-bye.
Is that Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah.
KK4
KK4 IOH.
But going a little deeper in there, you're gonna touch on searching. If you want to start finding information, digging into it, Ham over IP is the best start place, or there's gotta be 10,000
Yeah.
sites out there.
Ham Shack Hotline requires you to have a hard endpoint before you can get a soft phone extension. If you wanted to do this tonight, you could go to hamsoverip.com and request your extension, and then we'll go to the home page first. So, this is the home page. Submit a ticket. That's where you request your extension, and then here's the phone book that we were just in. So this is every extension. You can search by call sign. So Ryan has one. Or you could search
So
by,
Hams over IP is nothing much different than Southeast Link or nothing, it should, or is it a central point?
like Southeast Link has a Ham Shack extension,
Got it,
or a HOIP
got
extension.
it, got it, got it.
So
Okay.
you can also search by location. So these are all the ones in Tennessee. That's a lot. It's in Memphis. Yeah.
So you could just choose any one of them and call them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff's in the next room, so we won't call him.
Is there an app?
No, but you can get that soft phone app
Yeah.
and then connect through that.
Alan, question. This phone is registered with HamCheck or HOIP?
This phone has Ham Shack Hotline and HOIP and Amateur
okay.
Wire and my personal PBX,
I
which
see.
is mesh phone. But since I'm not on my home network, it doesn't see the PBX. And then I went all nerd and got regular landline and a trunk to that. So I have one extension that's a real phone line if I don't feel like giving up my cell phone number. There's a bunch of audio services on HOIP.
Oh,
9001. Yep. Just kidding.
what the hell is that? Oh. Stuff people hadn't heard in decades. What the-
Just kidding. We're not working. So WH6AV, he's the main guy at Hoyt. See what's going on. So I only have like 2 more slides and then one more slide. So I was talking about Arden before we started. So if you want to fully nerd out, you can get your own PBX and an Arden device and set up a connection to a SuperNode, which I have a SuperNode, so you can connect to me. And then Mark into MH, he set up this system of calling different numbers, but now it's connected to Hamshack Hotline. So every mesh phone number is 7 digits, and then to call one from Hamshack Hotline, you just put an 88 in front of it. And then let's see. So these are all the mesh phone numbers.
Wow.
So you could call any one of these. I was in a conference last night, so
What was that? Not one of those.
yeah. When you set up your PBX for your mesh phone, it also sets up a number for testing, which gives you the date and time, and then it sets up a number for a conference. So every Monday night, Mark in 2MH has a conference at 9:30 Central. So I was just talking to a guy from Calgary, Canada, and another one from actually Smyrna, Tennessee. Tom, forgot his call, but we'll call Mark's. Let's see if I remember. We'll call Mark's phone or test number. And he's in New Jersey, so it's going to be Eastern time.
Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 at 7:33 p.m. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Good friend of yours?
After the tone, say your name and then press the pound key.
Adam White, K4SPB.
Thank you. Press 1 to accept this recording. Your message has been saved. You are currently the only person in this conference.
No point in talking myself. So, this is an ATA. This has Hamshack Hotline and HOIP on it. If you had 2 phones, no matter where they are in the world, connected to the same extension, you can call yourself. So, actually we'll call from this one. That'd be cooler. Hello?
What was the number you dialed?
Just my extension,
Okay, this is.
So- 100484, and then
So,
I can switch it to the Hamshack Hotline extension. Same thing, just Hamshack Hotline.
when these VoIPs blew up in the 2000s when people got internet connectivity more. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's where Skype was born.
Right.
But it was a pay service and cheaper or no cost long distance calling and that kind of stuff. All those services have pretty much just died out. I'm sure they're worldwide somewhere, but
Yeah.
they're not here.
There's a few, but yeah, they are less ubiquitous.
But all that equipment, is that good for anything?
For the most part, but you wanna
Well, they were usually just boxes that you put, they were ADTs.
yeah,
Right?
you want to get
ADT.
the known working
I
stuff.
mean,
So.
there were dozens of them. Walmart sold them. You know, Radio
really?
Shack sold them.
You know, I was watching something about Jobs, Steve Jobs not long ago. That's one of the first things that he kind of did that got
Yeah.
big for him was,
So the Ham Shack Hotline wiki
Google them.
tells you everything you need to know about
Okay, cool.
and more. So they have a page called supported endpoints. And then these are the different brands. Here's Cisco, which has the most supported endpoints. And we're using the 525G2 and the SPA 122, which is the ATA. And then there's other brands, Fanville, Polycom, and Soft.
I have two Polygon telecom systems, brand new in the box. Can they be used in this world?
Yep.
I mean, these were like $10,000.
Oh,
These were
jeez.
the real deals.
Yeah.
They come with their own computer, and I mean, these were,
Oh,
yeah,
well,
and they're brand new.
yeah, that would probably be like the server side of it,
Mhm.
not the user phone side. And then,
Yeah, they weren't the little Polycons on the desk. They were,
Right.
these were the,
yeah. So like I was saying earlier, these are Arden and they're connected via RF. So the only connections to this building are the power here that was running off a battery. They create their own ad hoc network. So it gives itself an IP based off the MAC address. And then if they're set to the same frequency and the same bandwidth, then they talk to each other.
2.4.
Or 5, but these are set up for 2.4. And then
You got any distance testing with them before? Or,
I have not, but I can show you something that'll extend the distance.
sorry,
But
I'm not trying to hijack.
you're good.
You know, I'm a question
Questions are
person.
awesome. So your phone will give you your IP address, and then so you need the IP address of the other phone, or
Search and find mode or something.
yes. Try the other direction.
Dan's over and messing with it.
I didn't touch it. This time.
When I get over there, read that. What does it say?
you want you to read the number.
I got it highlighted. 10 dot.
What the IP?
Yep.
10.76, 77, 142.
BR 549.
Of course, it's gonna let me down.
Oh, of course.
Oh, so those should have worked.
But there's a way to search and find or
Yeah, I'd have to plug an Ethernet cable in.
force them to talk to each other.
Yeah. It's not hard, it's just time consuming. And then most Arden nodes don't look like a little box. They look like either the big dish Wi-Fi antennas or the sector antennas like you see on cell towers. And then these are called bullets. They're made by Ubiquiti.
Of course they are.
And these are cheap too now because they don't do multi-in, multi-out. and runs off PoE. So
Oh.
yeah, so mount that somewhere, and then mount that to that one.
Through the
Actually-
network cable, that's pretty awesome. Right there. By the way, you got matrix, you got the, what you call it over there, that looks like porn to me.
Oh.
What he says, I don't even see him anymore, I just.
Yeah. I'm using a PoE out on this.
That's pretty cool. What kind of broadband power, speed does it need? I wouldn't think much.
No, not much. If you're just doing your own thing at home, it's probably not, or an RF link, it's never gonna get over 100 megs.
Satellite or something,
For,
or cellular.
for a phone call, you don't need more than a few kilobytes per second, so,
64K or less, something like that.
yeah.
Back in the old day when 10 meg bid was like really fast.
Well, he talked about ARPANET, and that was my first intrusion into the internet, 300 baud acoustic coupler, military computer. So, yeah.
So, maybe if I can get this working again, I'll bring it to field day.
Is there a, can you create your own, and I know that's an ad hoc, but can you create your own wide area at, not using those, but just using the.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one in,
Private that doesn't show up anywhere?
yeah, you can change the SSID.
Well, I mean, they don't show up on the phone book.
Yeah.
Okay.
And why do you wanna know that?
So, because.
Just for talking.
But, yeah, you can do, once you learn how a PBX works, you just have a PBX on each end. And you could, it wouldn't be ham anymore, but you can encrypt it and, you can just call your buddy directly, as long as you both have internet access. Or you both have Starlink.
You can do some conferencing, right? You can do multiple.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting you brought this because I was literally discovered Astra about 4 days ago.
Yeah, perfect timing.
And I was digging in and I went, oh, well,
Yeah,
doesn't.
cool. Well, if you guys wanna play with these, go ahead. We can pull up the conference lists, or, I was hoping you could play with the already ones, but, have at it.
Some of my clients have swapped out the old Cisco spot phones, but just because they've had, well, they're unsupported now with vulnerabilities, so they, for compliance purposes, they can't, they don't want to take the risk of having them on the network.
Right.
How does that come into play here?
They'll
Sounds
connect
like,
it to the network.
sounds
back
like
to the
Mike's
internet.
got a hookup for everybody to get.
Well, I'm talking about, you still have the security vulnerability, but is it as prevalent doing it through this? It's the same thing, right? The way they're doing it, it's the same thing as a regular PBX network? Other
For
than-
my clients, the biggest vulnerability is something getting to a computer first. That computer's on the same network with the phones, because they're small clients, they're not separating VLANs out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, unsupported phone with a vulnerability that's known.
So the only computer involved in these is, if you're talking to,
Well, I mean, the phone has its own, so if you got into the phone, you could get into your home network, but hopefully your firewall's moderate. Also, you're not, the average person at their house is not a
risk.
target,
Yeah.
typical target. So,
Cool.
cool. Anybody wanna mess with these, or might start tearing it down, gotta get downstairs?
I know you mentioned that Astros can run on Raspberry Pi. Any idea what kind of Pis you need? 3s,
Oh.
4s,
I've got a Raspberry,
0?
I've got a Pi 3 that does my PBX and hand clock and my ADSB receiver and my weather receiver,
Okay.
so,
More than powerful enough.
oh yeah.
What was he doing, what was he doing with his All-Star nodes? Was he using the keypad on the phone to you were talking about to be able to dial into his All-Star nodes.
You go to Handshake Online or VoIP and you say, this is my All-Star node, I want an extension for it, and they give you one.
But what's the, just to be able to talk across it?
Yeah,
Oh, no maintenance or anything, no,
so people can call into
Okay.
it from a phone.
I got it.
Yeah, because he's in West Memphis, so probably can't reach his node from Cordova.
Oh,
Like you call
okay, well, this way, I was misunderstood, I thought maybe he was doing it to be able to, as a assist op, you know, to do something on the node remotely.
I don't know if the Crowley Ridge hub has ham VoIP set up on it or not.
I looked, I don't think it does,
Yeah.
but it could, we could do that. Or we could do it with the A2 or
Yeah.
the 3.6.
The, same thing, when we set up the 146.8.2 with All-Star, it's just a Raspberry Pi 4, 2 gig of RAM, and special audio card.
Yeah, no hat, it ties into the radio to the computer.
Yeah, it's, I should have brought it because I bought another one, to replace the Germantown computer one. It's, I don't know, it's a special box with,
Oh, I've seen them, yeah, they look like a hotspot.
and it, USB plug, plugs into it. Alan made a cable, connects back to the 8.2. There's, you don't notice it, but there is an audio delay for the Raspberry Pi to retransmit it, but you can turn on echo length on those. They've got the client so that you can connect into, what do you call those internet scanner sites. I think Alan has one of the repeaters set up for it, so you can bring up scanner app on your iPhone and listen to the Crowley Ridge repeater. So that's all built into the All-Star, and apparently you can connect it to a PBX also.
The little USB, I guess USB audio card,
Yeah.
what, the Ambi codec card or something like that, like the Blue DVDs or?
No, this one's just for
That
analog,
was
so
Mesh phone.
it's just,
So it's-
I just learned it.
It's not really connected to a server, it's just
I bought it.
direct from one phone to another, but no in between.
So you dial it just down the IP of the other phone?
Yeah.